So this is a little bit of an unorthodox video from me. Today what we're doing is going over to an article published on BleacherReport.com. I'm pretty sure most of y'all are familiar with Bleacher Report. I will say though, my one big absolute pet peeve about the website, and I needed to go out there and say this, man does this really piss me off. It's the fact that on BleacherReport.com, they have tabs on the top of their website for the following categories: NFL, NFL Fantasy, CFB, NBA, MLB, WNBA, World Football, AEW, Golf, Tennis, Sports, Scores, Play, and Shop. If you want to find NHL news, you have to go over to the sports section, and then you can see that under sports, there are subcategories for WWE, MCBB, NHL, boxing, F1, MMA, WCBB, betting, NASCAR, and MotoGP. What the hell? Are you saying that AE freaking W is enough of a sport or marketable enough of a product to put in the top of your website, but NHL isn't? Come on, man. NHL, MMA, F1, kind of boggles my mind how they place these categories in the second tier of marketable things, I guess. So it does kind of piss me off that Bleacher Report does not have an emphasis on NHL-related content on their website, but regardless, there still are articles on the website that I do think are worth exploring. Sorry for that little, tandem at the beginning of the video. I just really had to get that out there. But today, what I wanted to do was go over to an article on BleacherReport.com written by Lyle Richardson from earlier last week, talking about the most regrettable NHL trades of the last 3 seasons. Now, this is a really good piece. It goes over a whole bunch of moves that you could very well say did not work out as intended. There are 7 total trades in this article that are discussed. But because I like to take my time with things and I like to dive into topics a little bit slowly, just open the crevices a little bit, I wanted to go out there and talk about 2 of the trades that were listed in this article. It makes things easier for me. I don't have to go out there and go turbo mode with 7 ideas. It makes things easier for you because you can digest them a little bit better too. So, what I wanted to do is talk about, firstly, the trade listed in the number 4 spot of the article. Let's take a look at what Lyle Richardson writes about with the LA Kings Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. The first one, that is. Richardson writes here that the LA Kings finished 2022-23 with 47 wins and 104 points, marking the second best regular season performance in franchise history. However, they were eliminated from the first round of the playoffs by the Oilers for the second straight year. Kings GM Rob Blake made a major move to bolster his depth at center. On June 27, 2023, he acquired Pierre-Luc Dubois from the Winnipeg Jets in exchange for Alex Iafallo, Gabe Vilardi, Rasmus Kupari, and a second-round pick. Dubois also signed an 8-year contract with an AAV of $8.5 million. Blake praised Dubois as an elite two-way center with a unique skill set, citing his ability to contribute at all facets of the game. He added how excited the organization was to have Dubois join the club and commit to a long-term deal. Now, yeah, you can kind of see where this story is going down, because everything that Pierre-Luc Dubois was supposed to be, I feel like not all of it was a lie. Like, the player that Rob Blake and the LA Kings fans thought they were getting in PLD, I do think that player does exist. It's just his overall work ethic, his consistency, his mental engagement, his temperament, all of these things combined into a very odd and diluted cocktail of mid. And that might be a bad way to put it, but I do think it's fairly accurate. Pierre-Luc Dubois had the talent, he had the skill, he had the opportunity to be a top-of-the-line center at the NHL level, and they thought that they were getting that in him. It's why they signed him to an $8.5 million AAV deal. But PLD the guy just does not play as engaged as he needs to be that kind of guy, even though he's got the talent to potentially be a number 1 center. Let's continue on with the article here. Nearly a year later, Blake and the Kings were no longer excited about Dubois. On June 19th, they shipped him to Washington for Darcy Kuemper. Meanwhile, Iafallo, Vilardi, and Kupari helped the Jets finish last season with the second-best regular season record in franchise history. Dubois was a disappointment in LA, managing only 40 points in 82 games after back-to-back 60-point seasons with the Winnipeg Jets. He mostly saw third-line center duty and even spent some time on their fourth line. The 6'4", 225-pounder managed just 1 goal in 5 playoff games as the Oilers once again eliminated the Kings in the first round. Oh right, that series was 5 games and not 4. Huh, my bad. Rob Blake took the blame for Pierre-Luc Dubois' struggles, saying that he didn't do a good enough job integrating him into the right roles on the team. Yeah, no kidding, he was playing on the fourth line. He managed to shed the big center's hefty contract, shipping him to Washington for Kemper, who has 3 years left on his deal with an AAV of $5.3 million, but who also struggled during his 2 seasons with the Capitals. This move was among several this offseason that raised questions about Blake's management of the Kings. Already on the hot seat entering this season, he could risk losing his job if they failed to improve. Now that, of course, is a pretty damning trade, and one of the biggest moves we had seen in the NHL because PLD was supposed to get traded for a while. Winnipeg had him in trade rumors for months, so the fact that he got traded to LA was a total disappointment and got shipped out just a year after signing an $8.5 million AAV deal, it's very indicative as to what happened there. Now, I wanted to go over onto the next trade that is regretted here in this article. It is the Erik Karlsson Pittsburgh Penguins deal. And this doesn't really have the same connotation as the last one, but it is still a quote-unquote regrettable move from a certain POV. The article talks about how the Penguins were trying to remain competitive. They had aging stars, Crosby, Malcolm, Letang, and Dubas wanted to give these guys a team that could still be competitive. Dubas then made the biggest splash of the 2023 offseason, acquiring Erik Karlsson on August 6 from San Jose in a multiplayer deal involving the Montreal Canadiens. Karlsson, then 33, was coming off of a career-best 101-point performance with the lowly Sharks, earning the James Norris Memorial Trophy for the 3rd time in his career. Pittsburgh also took on $10 million in the deal because of the salary retention. And even though the Penguins were looking to potentially be a playoff team, they seem poised to rebound from missing the playoffs in 2023. The Penguins failed to qualify for the 2nd straight year. Karlsson wasn't expected to have another season close to 100 points, but his production dropped to 56 points in 82 games played. Respectable for most offensive defensemen, but not what was expected for a player joining what was supposed to be a playoff contender. Dubas has spent this offseason adding younger players to his roster like Glass, Lizotte, Pavillier, and restocking his prospect pipeline. Meanwhile, Karlsson's hefty cap hit limits to add significant talent to Pittsburgh and likely led Dubas to trading pending UFA winger Jake Guentzel to Carolina in March. Karlsson might bounce back this season after a year of adjusting to a new city and team. However, he's approaching the stage of his career when performance declines. Adding him to a roster already loaded with aging, expensive stars could become increasingly burdensome for the Penguins over the remaining years of his contract. So, I wanted to talk about Karlsson too. We've got about 2 minutes left in this video. The guy is a very talented player. Of course he is. But I don't want to say that symptoms of the Burns-Karlsson illness that we had seen in San Jose a few years ago are presenting themselves back in the forefront once again. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, Karlsson and Letang are stepping on each other's shoes. It was very apparent that that was the case with Burns and Karlsson back with the Sharks. But for Erik Karlsson and his overall performance, you could start to see the warts show themselves off a little bit. It's not like he's a bad player. He still had 56 points in 82 games, but he did almost half his production of what he had done the previous year with the Sharks. Now, again, you know, the Sharks in 2022-2023 gave every single offensive opportunity to Erik Karlsson. He had all of it at his disposal. It was all there all the time. So, when you think about Erik Karlsson pretty much being involved in like every goal that the San Jose Sharks scored in 22-23, and you move that over to a Pittsburgh team that is not going to give him like the absolute best opportunity compared to San Jose, you have to share the load a little bit, you start to realize that maybe with the Penguins and their overall aging core, they've got Sidney Crosby who can still produce points, they've got a few other guys that they traded away that can produce points. At the end of the day though, Erik Karlsson is just kind of in a bad situation. He is getting older, his play is declining from what was a career-best 100-point year, and now he's in a spot in Pittsburgh where the playoffs don't even really seem like all too guaranteed of an outcome. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Erik Karlsson trade being a regret, as well as the PLD trade? as highlighted by this article. There are a whole bunch of other ideas that are tossed out there, so the link is in the description if you want to read them yourself. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.